Bag.
Barbados now has a new Governor General. She is Dame Sandra Mason, who was sworn into office in a ceremony in the Senate chamber this afternoon. Good evening, I'm Lisa Broom with the CBC Evening News. And with a report from that swearing in is our Ryan Broom.
The ceremonial arm of the military was out in full force this afternoon, putting on a show befitting the Queen, or in this case, her newly appointed representative on the island. It heralded the installation of Barbados' 8th Governor General and the second female to hold the post, Dame Sandra Mason. Dame Sandra's elevation is only the second time in Barbados' history that the top post became vacant after the holder of the office retired from that post. The last time was when her predecessor, Sir Elliot Belgrave, demitted office, and immediately before him, Sir Clifford Husbands. After greeting a wide cross-section of dignitaries and specially invited guests, Dame Sandra took her place in the Senate chamber, where she took the oath of office, signaling her ascension to the post. In her address, Dame Sandra said when she began teaching and subsequently held several other posts, she had never imagined becoming Governor General. Her main goal was to make a contribution to the advancement of Barbadians.
Patriotism was inculcated from a very early age. It was born largely out of the understanding that free education granted to Barbadian citizens in the 60s was the only way out of shore poverty, particularly for large families such as ours. It is unfortunate that today we seem to take for granted and no longer appear to appreciate the possibilities afforded by our educational system.
Dame Sandra noted that while important, being a woman holding the office of Governor General will not be the determining factor in the execution of her duties. And commenting on the challenges now facing the island, Dame Sandra says it provides Barbados with the opportunity to come up with its own solutions.
But as anxious as these challenges may make us, they have nevertheless provided us with opportunities to devise and implement major legislative, regulatory, fiscal and operational reforms. How we emerge will hinge on our ability to regroup and draw on our collective strengths as a people to ensure that we are able to march proudly and gallantly into the future. We must not only plan strategically, but we must also be willing to boldly restructure and streamline our operations and resource capabilities to ensure that our country, and by extension our region, will be well placed to weather the most difficult periods ahead.
Dame Sandra also advised that Barbados not be allowed to become a house divided as people debate and share their various points of view. Ryan Broom, CBC News.
Thanks, Ryan. Well, Barbados this afternoon experienced an island-wide blackout for several hours. Confirmation of this from the corporate communications manager at the Barbados Light and Power, Jackie Marshall-Clark. She told CBC the outage occurred sometime after 2:30, affecting all of Barbados, including the Parliament buildings where the installation of Barbados's 8th Governor General, Dame Sandra Mason, occurred. However, the utility company was able to restore power to parts of Bridgetown and Parliament buildings just after 3:30. Ms. Marshall-Clark could not pinpoint the reason for the blackout, but indicated that preliminary investigations revealed something occurred in the vicinity of the airport to trigger that outage. While some businesses were affected, operations continued as normal at others. Now, the 8th Governor General of Barbados, Dame Sandra Mason, as you heard, was installed, and that was affected slightly. And joining us now live via phone is the BL&P's Managing Director, Roger Blackman. Mr. Blackman, thank you so much for joining us. Given the challenges that the Light and Power experienced this afternoon, what more can you tell us about that outage?
Hello, good evening, Lisa. Well, as you pointed out, we did experience an island-wide outage today. The outage occurred at 2:30 this afternoon, and it was triggered by an explosion at one of our substations in Christchurch, the Seaworld substation to be specific. And that resulted in a cascading event, the loss of generation, and the island-wide outage that we experienced. We responded immediately by sending crews to the scene, and the Barbados Fire Service also responded immediately and were there very quickly and helped us to contain the fire. Fortunately, we're happy to report there were no injuries as a result of the incident, but there was damage to our equipment. At this time, we don't have information on the full extent of the damage. We will only be able to determine that after we've completed the investigation. The challenge is when you have an explosion in a confined space like our substation or our substations, it takes a little while to secure it so that you can safely access and do a full, thorough investigation. But as we speak, our crews are on the scene and doing those assessments, and we'll be able to provide a further update. At the moment, as it relates to customers, we are working to restore full service. At this point in time, we have about 2/3 of our customers restored across the island. On this occasion, unlike other occasions, the length of the time to achieve full restoration will be a little longer because of the nature and the location of the explosion being close to a generating plant. So based on our assessments at the moment, there's some more work to be done. We're aiming to have all customers restored later tonight. However, as I indicated, because of the nature and the location of the fault, we will have to provide further updates either later tonight or in the morning. And our communication team will be providing those updates to the media as well as via our Facebook page.
Oh, Mr. Blackman, just quickly, you said updates later tonight or in the morning. Is that indicating that there's a likelihood the power will be off to some places as long as tomorrow?
We expect to be able to restore all customers tonight. The load, customer demand will grow during the morning and into the day tomorrow. And we may have some challenges which we will only know for certain when we complete our investigations at that substation. But at this point in time, we are expecting full restoration later tonight.
Thank you very much, Roger Blackman, the Managing Director of the Barbados Light and Power, following the power outage this afternoon, which resulted in an island-wide outage. And of course, we will keep you updated on that as the details come to hand. Now, as soon as full power is restored across Barbados, CBC TV8 will carry the recording of the installation of the 8th Governor General of Barbados, named Sandra Mason. And due to the continued outage to some parts of the island, the recording of that installation will be shown again later this week. In other news now, government is putting policies in place to ensure that young artists can follow in the footsteps of Barbados's 3 new cultural ambassadors. This from Prime Minister Fundle Stewart as he congratulated outstanding Calypsonians Alison Hines, Stetson Red Plastic Bag Wiltshire, and Dr. Anthony the Mighty Gabby Carter, who were all conferred with the title of Cultural Ambassador. It was done in an elaborate ceremony at the Garfield Sobers Gymnasium yesterday afternoon. Prime Minister Stewart says all Barbadians can be proud of the trio's achievements.
Each one of them has brought his or her individual capacity and capability to bear on the cultural development of this island. They've brought goodwill to this nation in the past, and I know they will bring goodwill to it in the future. Their achievements are our achievements, and together they will continue to take Barbados to ever greater heights. Their commitment and dedication, their strengths, their consistency, their versatility, as well as their focus, are all characteristics to be emulated by our young people, especially those in the cultural field. There are also characteristics from which we as a nation can continue to draw.
The kind of environment that will allow the cultural industries to flourish.
We are seeking through the Cultural Industries Development Authority to strengthen the Cultural Industries Development Act, and through programs and various activities to better equip our cultural practitioners to make livelihoods for themselves. We are seeking to have more Allisons, more red plastic bags, and more Mighty Gabbies, who in turn can enlarge the cadre of cultural ambassadors for Barbados.
And the three were given the royal treatment during the ceremony, which saw them being conferred with their official documents. They arrived in the style befitting ambassadors. Chauffeur-driven limousines brought the three new cultural ambassadors along with their families to the Garfield Sobers Gymnasium, where buglers from the Royal Barbados Police Force Band heralded their arrival. It was then on to the red carpet entrance, where they were greeted by government and National Cultural Foundation officials. After pleasantries were exchanged, it was into the gymnasium for a show which paid musical tribute to and celebrated their achievements and contributions to the island. Some of the island's best young talents sang pieces from the vast repertoire amassed by the three over the years. After accepting her documents, now Ambassador Hines was lost for words.
This means a lot to me, to be recognized for doing what I love, for representing this tiny but beautiful and strong island, however I can, wherever I go.
The mighty Gabby was originally conferred with the honor in 2004, so last night's ceremony was a reaffirmation of that. In congratulating both designees, Ambassador Carter acknowledged the fierce competition between him and RPB on stage, but said off stage they were brothers.
If I get to the destination, let's say maybe New York, before Stetson, I am going to rehearse his songs for him. And if he get there before me, he's going to rehearse my songs for me. That's how we live, you know, because we're real brothers.
In brief remarks after receiving his official documents, Ambassador Wiltshire said he was truly honored to receive the accolade.
When Gabby was speaking about the performances that we would have done across the world, I remember performing and changing in a kitchen in Biltmore Ballroom. And nowadays, and in the cold, in the winter, I must add. And nowadays, I see people, the Calypsonians, performing at some of the big arenas, and they're happy and so on. But we have gone through a lot. But Gabby and Alison, it paid off.
And once the formalities were disposed of, the entire gym partied to hits of the three honorees. Well, we'll take a break here, but when we come back, there's more news, so stay tuned.
Mom and Dad used to argue about everything, especially about Dad's drinking. My family went from totally crazy to quiet, calm, and even peaceful when Mom started going to Al-Anon family groups. I wanted a better relationship with Dad, so I asked Mom if she would take me to her Al-Anon meetings or to Alateen. I'm sure glad I did. If someone's drinking troubling you, you might be surprised at what you can learn in an Al-Anon or Alateen family group from people just like you. Call 1-888-4-ALANON or go to alanon.org.
This month on Caribbean Passport, we gear up for Trinidad and Tobago's Carnival. Join Barbados in honoring musical icon Rihanna. Stop off in Jamaica for the UNWTO conference and get an update from the region. See it all right here on this channel.
CBC congratulates our new Governor General, Dame Sandra Mason.
JetBlue has released a brief statement addressing Sunday's emergency landing at the Grantley Adams International Airport. The landing resulted in emergency response services being called into action. Passengers who were on the JetBlue flight from Boston say after landing safely, the pilot announced that there was a problem. In a statement released this morning, their corporate communications office said, quote, "The flight crew from Flight 25 from Boston Logan Airport to Barbados reported an acrid odor in the cockpit and cabin. It said safety is our top priority. The flight landed at the Grantley Adams International Airport without any incident, and the plane taxied to the gate where all passengers deplaned normally." JetBlue says maintenance will be inspecting the aircraft. Recent upgrades to the Bridgetown port are benefiting taxi operators of that facility. Word of this from President of the Independent Seaport Taxi Union, Anthony Eastman. The improvements included changes to the port's main gate.
There were only 2 lanes actually entering into the port, but the port would have actually dedicated a taxi designated lane. And as you can see, that the taxis are actually moved freely into the Bridgetown port. So this has been a tremendous help to both of the organizations who operate from inside the Bridgetown port.
Earlier today, Acting Governor General Sir Philip Graves completed one of his last public assignments. He visited the island's newest centenarian, Mildred Cumberbatch, in Friendly Hall, St. Lucie for her birthday. There, he exchanged 2 congratulatory cards, one from Her Majesty the Queen, the other from himself, a floral basket and a bottle of non-alcoholic wine for the last time. Sir Philip says Miss Cumberbatch is the liveliest centenarian he's met during his tenure. The mother of 6 is extra happy she's followed in her husband's footsteps to reach the golden age of 100 years. She also offered some advice to the youth.
Get up and help yourself. Help yourself. You can't sit down all the time and expect somebody to help you all the time. Help yourself. Even if they say she out there sitting down and ain't doing nothing, wants to know you do your work already, you ain't got the money for it. They say, go on. Then true. If you do a certain amount of work and you're tired, and somebody said, look, I have the other money. I said, no, you do your work. You do one already.
Ms. Cumberbatch is still an active reader who credits God, hard work, and a diet of ground provisions for helping her to reach that milestone.
Thank you, Jesus. And I've worked all kind of work. The only thing I do is take this child, contact this code. Contact this code, but I work, measure work, and measure work, and measure work, and measure run, and measure jump. She does some everything.
A very happy birthday to you, Miss Cumberbatch. Well, still to come, a look at some of the stories making headlines across the region.
Watch the programs of the Barbados Government Information Service to find out how the ministries and government departments can work for you.
Sundays at 7:30.
Mondays and Thursdays at 8:30 p.m. on this station.
Watch us in high definition on our YouTube channel, the BGI, and like our Facebook page.
The Barbados Government Information Service. We keep you informed.
My son had a drinking problem at college. I'm glad a friend suggested Al-Anon family groups. Is someone's drinking troubling you? You might be surprised at what you can learn in an Al-Anon family group from people just like you. Call 1-888-4-AL-ANON or go to alanon.org.
CBC congratulates our new Governor General, Dame Sandra Mason.
As Guyana police continue to probe the recent murder of a teenager whose body was found in a cemetery, the focus has shifted to a WhatsApp group that she was part of.
Crime Chief Paul Williams has confirmed to Nightly News that investigators are interested in the LCC WhatsApp group, which murdered East Coast teenager Raynella Belfield had been a part of, as investigators continue to search for clues which could lead to a breakthrough in finding those responsible for the death of the teen.
So I'm happy that this type of information unfolding because it will now help us to look, you understand me, in other areas and other possibilities that, may have contributed to our demise.
Prior to this broadcast, investigators started looking at this end, looking in this direction, the LCC?
No, well, I'm saying that we weren't looking so close as it relates to the LCC group because, as I said earlier, indeed, from the outset, we learned about this group and her being a member. But then at the end of it, we didn't really conclude as it relates to something within the group that may have contributed to her demise.
The Love, Comfort and Care WhatsApp group has hundreds of members. And like Raynella's mother, police were informed that the teen had been a part of the group.
What I want to say as it relates to Raynella Belfield, okay? During our investigation, from the outset, we learned that she was part of the group, LCC group. And also we learned that the persons who would have died in the crash at Maikoni are also part of the same group.
In St. Lucia, an investigation is underway after video of a police vehicle driving erratically on a road in Gros-Islet went viral.
There is this video circulating as it relates to a police vehicle which was driving in a manner that I think is not in keeping with proper driving on the roads. This matter is under investigation. I have been able to identify the vehicle involved, and I've assigned a senior officer to investigate this matter, and as soon as we have gotten whoever the driver is, action that will be taken based on the investigation that is carried out.
The tip now from Cooperators General Insurance.
This tip of the day is brought to you by Cooperators General Insurance Company Limited. Insurance the way you want it to be.
Check all currency to ensure that it is not counterfeit. This crime prevention tip is brought to you in association with the Royal Barbados Police Force.